Hello guys, welcome to the movie recap review. Happy watching.
Transit to Victory headquarters.
The film opens at a lively party hosted by Dean and Bunny, where several couples have gathered. The wives participate in a playful game, balancing trays with glasses of liquor on their heads. Bunny wins, much to everyone's delight. Meanwhile, Alice and Jack, one of the couples, slip away for a joyride, spinning in circles as Jack drives. The next morning, Alice lovingly prepares breakfast for Jack, their seemingly perfect relationship on full display. They, along with their friends, live in Victory Town, a 1950s-style community where each day, all the wives see their husbands off as they leave in unison for work at Victory headquarters in the desert, where they're said to be involved in technological development. Alice spends her days at home, often passing time with Bunny and the other wives. Alice attends a dance class led by Shelley, the wife of Frank, the founder of the Victory Project. There, they welcome Violet, a newcomer whose husband Bill has just joined the other men at HQ. The community gathers at Frank and Shelley's home for a party, where Frank teases the next step in the mysterious Victory Project. During the event, a woman named Margaret speaks up, warning that the women are not supposed to be there. Her husband, Ted, quickly pulls her aside to prevent her from causing a scene. Quiet conversations ripple through the crowd about Margaret's troubled state after she and her young son wandered into the desert, where he vanished. Though Margaret insists her son was taken from her, she was found alone and later recovered by the community. As the party continues, Alice slips back into the house where Jack finds her, and they share a passionate moment. Unknown to Jack, Frank silently observes them from the doorway, meeting Alice's gaze briefly before disappearing without Jack noticing. Later, Alice takes a trolley ride that leads her to the edge of town, facing the vast desert. She looks up and sees a plane crash into the mountains near Victory headquarters. Alarmed, she urges the trolley driver to follow, but he refuses, saying it's not on his route. Determined, Alice sets out on foot toward the mountains, where instead of finding the wreckage, she encounters a strange mirror-like structure. Touching it, she experiences unsettling visions of blood drops and synchronized women dancing, as well as the ominous sound of Frank's voice. Suddenly, Alice wakes up in her own bed, disoriented, with Jack beside her. He tells her she was home for hours while he was out, yet Alice has no memory of how she got back. Alice receives a phone call from Margaret, who urgently asks if Alice saw the plane. Though unsettled, Alice denies it and firmly tells Margaret not to call her again, even as Margaret desperately pleads. Later, Alice is horrified to spot Margaret standing on the roof of her house. She rushes to help, but before she can reach her, Margaret meets Alice's gaze, then shockingly slits her own throat and falls. Men in red suits quickly arrive, pulling Alice away as they collect Margaret's body. Disturbed by Alice's reaction, Jack arranges for Dr. Collins to visit and examine her. Collins calmly explains that Margaret had simply fallen while cleaning her window and needed stitches, a story the others affirm despite Alice's doubts. As Collins and Jack speak, Alice discreetly slips into Collins's bag, finding a file on Margaret marked security risk. Skimming through, she finds that most of the information is redacted, offering little insight, so she destroys the file, burning it in frustration. Soon, Alice starts experiencing strange and unsettling visions. At dance class, she's suddenly gripped by an image of Margaret smashing her head against a mirror, leading Alice to panic in front of everyone. At home, she tries cooking eggs, only to find the shells mysteriously hollow. Later, while bathing, she slips beneath the water, catching sight of her own reflection staring back with an eerie, knowing gaze. Alice and Jack attend a grand event hosted by Frank, where all the couples gather to celebrate. During the festivities, Frank calls Jack up on stage, proudly announcing his promotion to the Senior Advisory Board. The crowd cheers, and Frank leads them in a rousing chant. "Whose world is this? Ours!" Unsettled, Alice slips away but is soon found by Bunny, who dismisses her concerns, urging her to stop overthinking. Later, Alice and Jack host a dinner party, inviting Frank, Shelley, Bill, Violet, Peg, and Peter. As the evening progresses, Alice grows bold, bringing up peculiar details she's noticed. She points out that each wife has the same story of meeting her husband, each dropped a train ticket, which her husband then picked up, and that nearly all the women seem to come from Philadelphia, Chicago, or Baltimore. Building on this, she confronts Frank, accusing him of orchestrating something sinister. Shelley reacts with sharp disapproval, but Frank seems intrigued, quietly telling Alice he's been waiting for someone like her to challenge him. After the guests leave, Alice pleads with Jack to leave Victory with her, voicing her growing dread. Jack initially appears supportive, and they rush to the car, but just as they're about to escape, the men in red suits arrive. They drag Alice from the car as she screams and begs Jack for help, but he sits in helpless remorse, watching as she's taken away. Alice is brought to a sterile hospital room where she's subjected to a disturbing procedure designed to quiet her questions and erase her memories of what she's seen. A flashback reveals Alice's life before Victory, showing her working as a skilled surgeon at a hospital. She lives with Jack in a cramped, rundown apartment where Jack appears unkempt and resentful. Jack feels neglected as Alice's long hours and demanding career leave her exhausted with little energy left for him. Desperate to feel valued, he becomes enthralled by Frank's motivational speeches, which inspire him to join the Victory Project, a virtual simulation where husbands can trap their wives in a nostalgic fantasy, stripping them of autonomy to fulfill their partner's desires. Without Alice's consent, Jack enrolls her, locking her mind inside Victory. When Alice touched the mirror, she momentarily awakened to reality until Jack, fearing he'd lose her, altered the program to keep her unaware. While Alice remains unconscious to the truth in the real world, Jack lies beside her, his mind linked to the simulation. Back in Victory, Alice returns from her supposed recovery, though her suspicions linger. She confronts Jack, who claims he did all this for her, unable to see that she was fulfilled by her independence in the real world. As she struggles to free herself from his grip, Alice smashes a liquor glass over his head, killing him within Victory and severing his connection to the real world. Bunny then confesses that she's known the truth about Victory all along, admitting that her own children are fabrications. Jack's death sends shockwaves through Victory, causing glitches and malfunctions. The streetlights explode, and the town begins to unravel. Urging Alice to seize her freedom, Bunny directs her to take Dean's car and drive to HQ to escape and shut down the simulation once and for all. Alice speeds through the desert, pursued by the men in red suits, with Dr. Collins leading the chase. In a bold move, she slams on the brakes, causing Collins to crash into the pursuing cars, taking out several of the red suits in the collision. The chase intensifies, with more cars joining in as Alice pushes toward the mountain. Back in Victory HQ, Frank learns of her escape, only for Shelley to turn on him, stabbing him in the gut. As he collapses, she coldly tells him, "It's my turn now," blaming him for his failure to contain the situation. As Alice nears the top of the mountain, her car gets stuck, creating a barricade on the narrow path. She abandons the vehicle and scrambles up the mountain on foot with the red suits close behind. Nearing the mirror, she feels an eerie presence, as if Jack is calling her, pleading for her to stay. Pushing through, Alice reaches the mirror just as the red suits close in, touching it and triggering her escape. The screen cuts to black. In the silence, a gasp echoes, the sound of Alice waking up, finally free, back in the real world.
And that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Comment down below what movies do you like us to recap next. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.